Don't mind me just touching up the sticky lip gloss. Throw that on the floor for now. Just throwing things on the floor now. This is bad. Maybe I'm just too short, so I need to sit crisscross applesauce. I don't know what to do with this setup, guys. Is this? Oh, you can see the tape. Okay, I need to get that out the way. That's the issue. This should be good now. Is that better? You can still see it. Okay. Hi guys, I'm Vanessa Gomes and welcome to my channel. So a few months ago, I decided to get my hips pierced, and that is also called hip dermals. So if you don't know what a dermal piercing is, basically it's also known as a microdermal piercing or a single point piercing, and all that it is it lays on a flat surface of your body and there is an anchor underneath your skin that is holding the dermal in place. So dermals are definitely very different from your normal piercing that, let's say, is just in your earlobe or it's on your belly button. So the problem I had initially before getting them done was finding a location that would even be willing to do hip dermals for me or that even did them. I called so many locations that said they just either didn't do dermals or that they did do dermals, but they didn't do hip dermals specifically. So this kind of led me to question, why are all these places not doing the dermals? So I looked on the internet, I got some information about hip dermals, and I learned that hip dermals have a very, very high rejection rate. So most people that do get them, they're not gonna end up having them in for very long. I remember going to one location and speaking to a woman that did do dermals, and I told her I wanted my hips done, and she straight up told me, I'm not gonna pierce your hips because it's just not a piercing that I like to enforce or like to get people to get done. Get her done. I don't know what I'm talking about. When I found out this information about hip dermals, I was pretty upset and let down because of course I was obsessed with the way that they looked, but hearing this information didn't stop me, so I still found a place that was able to do them, and it was about an hour and a half away from where I was living at the time. So let's talk about when I got the piercing done and once I arrived at the shop and the pain, basically. So when I got them pierced, I got 2 on each side, and they're a little bit, they're on different levels. So there would be one on the left side that's higher, one on the right side that's higher, and one lower, kind of at an angle. You get the point. Why am I so rude to the camera? You get the point. You know, I don't gotta explain myself. Let me start off and warn you guys that it is a lot more lengthy than a regular piercing. If you are going to get a dermal done, be prepared to know that it's not going to be super quick like other piercings that you may have experienced in the past. And my piercer was trying to make sure that they were laying completely flat, that the anchor was good, that it was really like, I don't even know how to explain it. What am I doing here? I'm like shaking. That it was really just in place and it was good, and it took quite a few attempts, and I was kind of just squirming there in pain like, are we done yet? And he's like, no, this one's not in good yet or whatever. So it's gonna be a little painful and it's gonna take some time, but it's not anything that you can't handle. After I got them done, I wasn't crazy sore or anything. I remember going to the gym, I believe it was like the day right after I got them done, which I don't encourage you to do that. You should let them heal for about a week, but I knew I wasn't gonna be doing anything crazy around like my midsection at the gym, so I myself, being a little reckless, I don't really care about that in that aspect, which is terrible, and you guys should wait till they're fully healed. But there's no crazy pain afterwards, at least not for myself. It just felt a little bit sore. I tried super hard to make sure that they were clean and consistently clean them. I even avoided wearing any high-waisted pants except for a few occasions at the gym where I wore high-waisted leggings. I absolutely loved the way that they came out and the way that they looked, but I will admit they're a little bit of a hassle to deal with. It's not as easy as just getting something else done and you clean it and you don't have to worry about it so much. It's in such an area that has like a lot of movement, and when you're in the shower you got to be super careful when you're washing your midsection. You have to be super careful when you're pulling pants up, when you're pulling pants down. Even when you're laying on your bed and you're rolling around, you have to be careful lifting up any tight shirts. It's a little annoying, but I absolutely loved them, so I was willing to deal with it. Even with all the cleaning and making sure that I took proper care of the hip dermals, I noticed eventually there was one that was really red and swollen around it. And when I saw that, I was like, all right, let me just up, you know, the cleaning, and hopefully it'll just go away. And over time, another one got a little red and infected, and it would kind of fluctuate at times where it would look like it was a little better, but then it'd go back to being worse. And then it got to the point where there was two that were completely infected and they weren't going away, but I wanted them so badly that I was willing to wait a little bit longer and hopefully that they would go away. And one morning I woke up and I was getting ready to start cleaning them, and I started cleaning one of the dermals, and one of the jewels on the dermals completely fell out. And at that point, I already had a few infected for a while and a jewel fell out. Now I was like, all right, I have to get rid of these. And I really did not want to, but I was like, dude, like they're infected, jewels are falling out, like I gotta get rid of them now. I was a little concerned as well that a jewel fell out. I didn't know how that would really interfere with getting them removed. So immediately that same day I went looking for areas that would be able to remove them for me. I went to one spot nearby me and the woman looked at my hip dermals and she was like, yep, there's no way I'm removing those for you. They're way too infected. One has a jewel missing. She was like, you're gonna have to get them surgically removed. My heart sank a little bit and I'm like, no, I don't want to get them surgically removed. And I did not want to do that whatsoever. So I was like, let me try a few other spots because So I ended up going back to the same woman that refused to get my hip dermals done in the first place to see if she would at least remove them. And luckily she was able to remove them for me. She charged me about $100 to get them removed. And I was like, all right, I'll take it. Let's do this. Guys, let me tell you, just thinking about it, I like cringe a little bit. The pain of getting them removed was like 10 times worse than getting them inserted. It was so bad. I felt like I was handling it like a champ when I got them inserted, but this time, I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there, I was laying on the little bed or whatever, and I was just like, like making all these noises, and I even had to take a few breaks. She was like, are you okay? She put numbing cream around my hips, and still it was terrible. What it felt like was just being carved around my dermals and pulling and ripping out, or at least attempting to rip them out. And it took quite a few tries and a few minutes on some dermals, and there was a lot of bleeding. There was pus coming out of some of them. It was pretty bad and super painful. I do have a photo of what they looked like immediately after getting them removed, and I hope the photo shows you guys how painful it was. Like, you can just tell, like, it looks all swollen and red and irritated. It was so bad, but I had the biggest relief after getting them removed. I was like, oh, I don't have to deal with that again. It's been a few months since I got the hip dermals removed, and they were completely healed now. They healed pretty quickly. There was a lot of scabbing for like the first week or two, but eventually it went away and they're completely fine now. I am left with scars on my hips, and this is gonna sound weird to some people, but I don't mind them whatsoever. In fact, I actually love the way the scars look on my hips because it's almost as if I still got to keep the piercings, but they're not really there. So when I touch them a little bit, I can feel that there's clearly like a raise of skin from the scar tissue, but it's really not that bad whatsoever. Now, everybody has a different experience with hip dermals, so your scars, if you were to get them removed, they might be worse than mine, or they might not be as bad as mine. And mine aren't bad at all. They're barely noticeable, and I'm a little tan right now, so that also helps with hiding them a bit. Everyone also has a different experience with the rejection of the dermals and the duration that they are able to keep them in for. I know other people who have gotten hip dermals and they had this same exact thing happen to them where the jewels started to fall out. They were completely rejecting and they had to get them removed. But I do know only one person that has hip dermals and has had them in for years now with no issue whatsoever. Now, the likeliness of you getting your hip dermals done and having them in for that long is very slim, but I don't want to say that you shouldn't get them because of that reason. I knew about the rejection rate before I got them done, and I still got them done. So my advice to you guys is, if you absolutely love hip dermals, you love the way they look, you don't mind the possibility of being left with some pretty noticeable scars on your hips, then I say go ahead and try it, because you might be the lucky person that is able to keep them in for a really long time. If you're not too fond of the idea of spending money on a piercing that you know is not going to last and is going to leave you with scars, then I say think about it a little bit harder and make sure if you really want them or not, and if they're going to be worth you getting them done. I spent about $250 to get them done, which I'm sure the price varies on locations and states, but that's how much it was for me to get them done, and I honestly don't regret them at all. Like, yeah, it sucks, it was a loss of money, but I loved them. I wish I was able to keep them in until now, of course, but I wouldn't go back in time and not get them done. In fact, if it was like healthy for me to get them redone on the same exact spot with no rejection rate, I would go get them done again. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. I appreciate it so much if you guys subscribe to this channel. I try to upload at least one video a week on this channel, and I think you guys might be interested in my future content, so do not forget to subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful week, guys. Peace out. And the video is complete.